Tonight's big stories. With the FDA's approval, COVID vaccines may soon be commercially available in the Philippines. Question is, how much would each shot cost?
The Finance Department says that instant noodles will be exempted from the government's planned additional taxes on salty food. What do snack manufacturers think of this tax measure? Kissinger C. of the Philippine Confectionary, Biscuit and Snack Association will join us for a discussion.
And the Health Department plans on offering a free review center for all unlicensed nurses who are either employed in government or private facilities to help them prepare for the nursing licensure exams.
Welcome to the show. I'm Gretchen Ho.
I'm Regina Lay.
And I'm Sean Yao.
COVID vaccines may soon be commercially available in the Philippines. This comes after the FDA granted a certificate of product registration for Pfizer's bivalent COVID-19 vaccines. The CPR allows Pfizer to sell its bivalent jabs in the country for the next 5 years to be used, of course, as booster shots for those aged 12 and above. Now, last week, the government started its free rollout of the bivalent jabs as a third booster shot, but that's only for healthcare workers and senior citizens. As of now, there are only about 400,000 bivalent shots in the country, all of which were donations from Lithuania. But more jabs should arrive in our shores soon following Pfizer's product registration approval. Infectious disease expert Dr. Ronjin Solante says this is very good news.
There are more opportunities that doctors, clinicians, no, sa mga hospital, na yung mga recommended vulnerable population kung saan ito ay pwede nating ibigay, they can already purchase it and give this to this population.
Would you guys buy those jabs, given the chance?
Depends on how
like,
much.
it's just like every other jab that we have to pay for, right?
Except for the primary shots, we didn't pay for because the government brought it in.
Well, for
right?
one, I think it's a plus that it's available in the market. I mean, you have
That's
the
true.
option to
That's
avail
very
of it,
true.
right?
It's your choice whether or not you want to buy it or not. But my understanding is even like primary shots for like little kids are made available through health centers. So maybe it will be made available through the same means, but definitely not for everyone like it was for us.
I'm not quite sure how the reception will be though in the Philippines because we've been struggling to even get people to get their booster shots in the rural areas, in the far-flung areas. I guess that will be a challenge. Also with the declining rates or the challenges, declining confidence in childhood vaccines, right?
Yeah. But I know for a fact that doctors are keen to get it. Like all my doctors, for instance, are
Sabagay,
excited
yun
kasi
din.
they're
Oo,
exposed to
tama,
COVID
tama.
for all sorts of germs.
Magkano
right?
kaya yung bakuna?
Ayan ang
That will be the
tanong,
question.
di ba? Now, the Health Department has previously confirmed that bivalent vaccines protect against both the original COVID strain, SARS-CoV-2, and the Omicron subvariants BA.5 and 4.5. The only question is, how much would we have to shell out to avail of these bivalent vaccines, as we have been asking, once they become commercially available?
Well, no word on government yet regarding this matter. Infectious disease expert Ronjin Solante estimates that bivalent vaccines might cost between 2,000 to 3,000 pesos per shot. In any case, Solante says the public shouldn't worry about the vaccines being too expensive since commercial pricing will be based on third world countries' ceiling prices. Meanwhile, the FDA is urging other pharmaceutical companies and vaccine manufacturers to also apply for a CPR. The agency says the more accessible COVID-19 vaccines are to the public, the better. In other news, Larry Gadon believes that dole-outs or distributing ayuda should not be a permanent solution to alleviate poverty. In an interview with One Balita Pilipinas Tanghali, the newly minted presidential advisor on poverty alleviation says the government should instead provide the poor with a permanent source of livelihood. And to do this, Gadon plans to revive industries that were affected by the COVID-19 pandemic, as well as launch the feeding program called BBM Batang Busog at Malusog Movement. Meanwhile, Gadon also reveals that President Marcos advised him to tone down on his profanities and insults following his appointment, although he had this to say about using a particular term against his critics.
Gusto ko rin ipaliwanag muna na ang salitang bobo ay hindi naman mura o galit, kundi iyan ay isang description of a state of mind. No, kung isang tao ay talagang napaka sarado ang isip sa pagtanggap ng kung ano man katotohanan at kung ano ang tama, yun ay pwede mo tawagin bobo.
Well, as the new anti-poverty advisor, Larry Gadon will also have to address the need of Filipinos to be able to afford rice and other food items. Earlier today, long lines were seen at the Kadiwa store in Quezon City, with rice being sold for just 25 pesos per kilo. Some consumers bought their own chairs for several hours to wait it out for several hours rather, while others were already in line as early as 1 in the morning. The Kadiwa store has been selling cheap rice for almost 2 months now, but consumers can only buy up to 4 kilograms of rice, which amounts to 100 pesos for 4 kilos. It operates on a first-come, first-served basis where the store can only accommodate up to 100 people. According to Unigrow, the agri-company that produces rice for Kadiwa stores, the rice selling will be extended until July. For their part as well, the Agricultural Department said they're partnering with the DSWD to find food suppliers for the Kadiwa stores.
Now, guys, this has been our headline for the past week. The government eyeing to impose taxes on junk food and sweetened beverages. And as much as we are sad about that, here's what we know about this proposal. Finance Secretary Ben Diokno says the junk food tax and the tax increase on sweetened beverages could yield up to 76 billion pesos in revenue in the first year of implementation. It is also estimated to result in a 21% reduction in consumption of junk food and is seen to address health issues related to poor diets, including diabetes and obesity. Government is also seeking to impose a 10 peso tax per 100 grams or a 10 peso tax per 100 milliliters on prepackaged foods lacking nutritional value. These include confectionaries, snacks, and desserts that exceed the health department's thresholds for fat, salt, and sugar content. The proposal also aims to raise the sweetened beverage tax to 12 pesos per liter for any kind of sweetener used. The DOF says revenues from this tax package will fund important socio-economic programs of the Marcos administration, such as the DSWD's food stamp program. But just today, the DOF clarified that instant noodles are exempted from the proposed tax on salty foods despite their high sodium content, as Secretary Ben Diokno notes that it is a staple in many poor households.
Diokno, though, defended the proposal to impose taxes on junk food, saying that it is both a health and revenue measure. He says this will increase the country's fiscal space and also help in addressing pressing health problems. The Health Department has also backed this proposed tax measure. Secretary Ted Herbosa says he is hoping that this move will lessen the need to buy junk food and sweetened beverage, citing the lower prevalence of smoking, which he attributed to the sin tax law. The Philippine Sugar Millers Association has earlier opposed the measure, saying that instead of focusing on increasing tax rates, government should prioritize the enforcement of existing tax laws.
Now, here to give us his take on this proposal, we have with us on the show Kissinger C. He's the president of the Philippine Confectionary, Biscuit, and Snack Food Association. Kissinger, good evening. Thanks for joining us on The Big Story. There's so much to unpack about this new proposal, right? But the first thing I wanted to ask you was whether you thought that there was going to be a big impact on the industry as far as what they're proposing at this point.
Definitely, that would have a big impact. Our members mostly are produce snack foods na available sa sari-sari store. So yung mga piso, 2 piso, 5 piso, those kinds of snack foods. So if we impose tax, even now, no, with the recent inflation the last few months, nagtaasan ng presyo, yung dating piso napilitan na rin itaas, ang laking impact sa demand sa ikot ng mga sari-sari stores mismo. So what more if we put this tax we expect na mas lalong madadampen yung demand, and yung industry, not just the sari-sari stores, the whole supply chain will also be affected.
All right, Kissinger, having said that,
Yes.
nakipagkonsulta ba sa inyo ang gobyerno tungkol dito sa planadong or planned tax increase for your products in your association? Also, if they didn't, what would you actually plan to go up to the government and say, why did you exempt instant noodles but not our biscuits and our snack foods?
That's actually a good point, no? Inunahan niya na agad na ang noodles, yes, it's consumed by a mass base, but aside from noodles, ang dami rin naman na iba na kinokonsume ng mass base. But going back to your question earlier, you mentioned na did they consult the industry? Last week lang yata lumabas yung balita, and I've heard it also on the news na it's in the context na parang they're preparing for something for SONA to be submitted budget for next year. I remember back in 2020, previous administration, may mga ganong moves, no, to fund the pandemic initiative, to fund the pandemic, yung mga pangangailangan during the pandemic, to raise taxes for that. But so far, natapos yung last administration na halos walang hindi lumalim, no? Walang committee hearings, whatever, wala. But this time, they mukhang they're serious about this, and hopefully magkaroon ng avenue na mapakinggan yung lahat ng ma-affected, and yun, able to communicate our points and maybe also alternatives. We may have alternatives on our end that we can suggest na sana makonsider nila.
Well, Kissinger, what have you been hearing on your side? Are there plans among manufacturers to decrease trans fat, in particular salt, sugar content, to evade these taxes? Meron po bang ganong usapan?
I think it's a natural thing, no, na manufacturers would try to reformulate. We've seen that, no, fructose corn sugar, tinax nila, lumipat ng sugar. I think it's a natural thing. But the thing is, snack, when we control salt and we control sugar for snack, usually it's not a replacement for mainstream snack. Usually it's a separate category, because it takes time for the consumers to learn, to accept that product. Aside from the fact na usually, most likely also due to economies of scale, mas mahal siya lumalabas. Bakit? If I'm the factory, I'm set up for high salt relatively. I want to make a lower salt. There's a lower market. Mas maliit ang volume ko na produce for the same overhead, lalabas na mas mahal siya.
So basically,
And I think that's the core point is sa masang Pilipino, ang budget niya ito lang. Even though gusto niya humanap ng healthy foods, kung ito lang ang budget niya, in far-flung regions, inuulam nila fish crackers. It's bad, yes, it's bad, but yan lang yung kaya ng budget nila. So that's the other side of the story.
So, Kissinger, basically, you're saying mas mahal pag gagawing mas healthy yung mga snack foods, bottom line.
Upfront, medyo costly kasi ingredients and all that. I mean, it will come. But if there's already a huge volume, then maybe pwede siya.
But even if you don't change the formulation, no, let's say you keep everything as is, pero they push through this higher taxes, do you foresee that your members will have to raise prices too?
It's a pass-on cost. You saw that in the sugar tax when they implemented that, tumaas yung mga beverages. You also see that in some fast foods, hiwalay na yung sugar syrup from hindi na sweet yung beverages nila, nakahiwalay na yung sugar syrup. I would suspect na that's along the line of trying to avoid that tax, no? It's happening. It's going to happen. But just sa sector namin, we still don't know yet how we're gonna address that yet. But to some extent, mangyayari yan. But candy, 80% sugars. I don't know. How do you do a sugar with no sugar, a candy without sugar?
Well, the thing is, those who can probably afford it will still continue to buy junk food. I mean, to their liking. It does hit, the poor more than those who can afford at this point. That's what we
Yung sa
see.
mas mataas na presyo, on our part, what we see, sige, we apart from the increase ng prices, sa production din, snack foods are highly perishable as well. Supply chain, makikita niyo natin, pag excise tax, most likely sisingilin na ng government yung tax kahit hindi ko pa nabebenta. What's worse, binenta ko siya, but we also accept returns.
Right.
Pero binayad ko na yung tax.
So
That's another angle.
Yeah, we'll keep following this story and we'll check back in with you at a later time once we know for sure whether this tax is happening. Thanks so much for
Thank
joining
you.
us. Kissinger C, he's the president of the Philippine Confectionary Biscuit and Snack Association. We're going to pause for a quick one now, but up next, authorities fear that over 600,000 households will be affected if the water level at the Angat Dam continues to go down. More on that when we return.
You're still watching the big story here on One News.
More than 500,000 homes in Metro Manila are at risk of experiencing water shortage if the water supply over at the Angat Dam is not increased. Earlier today, the water level in Angat was recorded at 183.52 meters, which is close to the 180-meter minimum operating level of the dam. If the level goes below 180 meters, priority will be given to the domestic water supply over irrigation. According to estimates from Pag-asa, the dam could potentially reach such low levels within 2 weeks if there is no rainfall.
Medyo malaking may tutulong yan. Siyempre, kung mapapahaba niya yung panahon, araw, dadagdagan niya yung araw, bago niya ma-reach yung 180. Nakikita naman natin yung number, bumababa every day.
Currently, the MWSS is receiving an allocation of 52 cubic meters per second from the Angat Dam. This water is intended for domestic use. The agency is now appealing to lower the allocation to just 50 cubic meters per second. If the allocation goes any lower and there is no rainfall in the reservoirs, an estimated 632,000 households serviced by Manila may experience a water supply interruption for 10 to 12 hours each day. For the meantime, the MWSS is preparing alternative water sources such as deep wells and other options.
Ang mga scenario kung hindi dumating ang ulan is that we will have to have a pressure management. Baka babaan namin ang pressure sa bawat bahay. Pangalawa, kung may interruption, we make it a point na ang interruption will be in the evening. Up to early morning na mga tao ay natutulog at hindi masyadong mai-inconvenience.
So with the increasing demand for water supply, especially in Metro Manila, experts say relying solely on Angat Dam is not sufficient, especially with the threat of El Nino. And that's why Manila is looking for a solution in water innovation similar to the renowned water technology in Singapore. They can convert wastewater or dirty water into clean, potable water. According to Manila, water from this facility passes through rigorous and stringent treatment processes to become drinkable.
This is the first in Asia, hindi lang sa Pilipinas, kasi tayo yung gumagawa ng setup na tinatawag na direct potable reuse, na kung saan after natin matreat yung effluent, ay yung potable water ay diretso na nagagamit ng ating mga customers.
What does the future hold for Manila's new water supply? Let's find out from mobile journalist Francis Orsho. Francis, go ahead.
Gretchen, the Health Department recently granted Manila a permanent operational permit for this technology. The new water treatment plant has also passed the Philippine national standards for drinking water. Currently, 2 barangays in Parañaque are beneficiaries of Manila's new water, serving around 39,000 customers. Aside from Parañaque, it is expected to expand to Valenzuela, Pasay, and Muntinlupa in the coming years. Manila is also planning to construct additional new water treatment facilities in other parts of Metro Manila. Gretchen?
Maraming salamat, Francis Orsho.
Kayo, inumin nyo ba? Oo, inumin ko siya.
Iniisip ko nga rin yun eh.
Kasi ba't saan ba galing yung mga water natin?
If you probably
It's all
don't know
recycled
where
water.
it's been,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, then
Should
it's
we
there.
do
If it's clean,
a
it
live-
doesn't,
At
harm you.
taste test ulit.
We should probably. But this one reminds me of the filtration, the new water filters
Mga brita, parang
that
ganon.
cleans tawag dito, tubig tabang, rainwater or water from the streams, pwede mo ilagay doon.
Okay, so
And then it
And
is
it
potable
filters.
water.
Yeah,
Yeah,
filters
I
the water.
remember, I
Makes
think
it
it-
potable.
it was either, I think it was Manila. They actually did a filtration of the water from the Marikina River, and I attended the event, and they were like handing out cups, and I'm like,
Talaga.
I just drank it.
And how did
nothing
that
happened.
feel?
It felt okay.
It's just water. Nothing.
I mean, you're looking at, of course, they had a sample of the 4 or how many cylinders of filtration processes, and it came out really clear, so I just drank it.
Well, I was going to point out that while Manila may be the first to do it in the Philippines, it's already being done in a lot of other countries.
Yeah.
In my notes, it says like converting dirty water to potable is already being done in African countries like Namibia, South Africa, and then also parts of the United States, right? And as our report was just saying that Singapore, right?
Yeah.
United Kingdom.
I think these are like
Belgium.
very landlocked countries,
Yeah.
the ones you've mentioned. And
Yeah.
of course, South Africa
So-
also had a huge drought.
Of course, they
That
have a
was so
water
bad,
problem.
yeah.
But the point is that the technology is
Is
there,
there.
right? So it's not entirely new. We're just
and
probably
we
bringing
do
it
need
to
clean water, not just for drinking, for everything else, right?
And if we're gonna make gaya-gaya, this is the time, guys. All right, we're gonna pause for another break. Right after that, a review center is offering a free online course to all aspiring nurses who have failed to pass the board exams. More details when the big story returns. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're still watching the big story here in One News.
So as you already know, ladies, the health department is looking to provide temporary licenses to nursing graduates who failed the board exam. But the PRC, or the Professional Regulation Commission, is not in favor of this move. For one review center, the best approach is to help aspiring nurses pass the boards. And what better way to do this than to offer a free online review course, especially for retakers of the nursing boards. The review will take at least 4 hours per day to give those who are already working a chance to attend the classes either asynchronously or live via teleconferencing. At least 10,000 slots will be open for free ahead of the next board exam set in November. The review center also aims to help nursing graduates who have chosen to work in another field to return to healthcare.
Kung nagtatrabaho na sila sa ospital or any healthcare settings, ika nga nakatanim na sila doon. So most likely, pag pumasa sila, all they have to do is to get a promotion to the next level, which is a registered nurse position.
Mobile journalist Pamela Vasquez was able to speak to one nursing graduate who had previously failed the boards on what she thinks about this free nursing review. Let's get the details.
That's right, Sean. We were able to speak with Nanay Belen, a nursing graduate who failed the board thrice and is now working as a teacher in Davao del Sur. Nanay Belen still very much wants to get a nursing license so she can proceed with a career in healthcare. She hopes to get a slot on this free nursing review program, noting the high cost of taking up review courses, ranging from 3,500 to 17,000 pesos. The health department, for their part, supports the offering of free review courses as it could help fill up the around 4,000 vacancies for nurses in public hospitals. Sean?
Thanks for that, Pam.
I think with the PRC, the worry is that it could diminish the significance of a license, right?
It's all about the standard, right?
Correct. I mean, if you could practice nursing without a license, then what's the point of studying years?
Or what's the point of the PRC?
Although Secretary Taylor Bosa said this is being done in other countries.
Correct,
He mentioned
exactly.
on this show.
There's two
and also
sides to
sabi
this.
niya, pagka yung score, malapit lang dun sa passing grade.
Let's say you're 74.
Like 70 to 74.
Because 74 is 75 is the cutoff. Let's say you got 74, right?
Tuturuan lang naman daw sila.
Literally 1 point.
Tama.
All right, so ready for, in other news, I was gonna say, ready for the big comeback of Tito Vic and Joey and the legit Dabarkads. Their nationwide viewing party, dubbed the Pambansang Araw ng 1,000 Isang Tuwa, will be held on Saturday already, July 1 at 11:30 a.m. With 4 days left before returning to air, Vic Soto decided to get a fresh cut. He was accompanied by his partner Pauline Luna. Meanwhile, Jose Manalo thought it best to get a relaxing massage before their big day.
Naka-summer break, ano?
Oo nga
Malapit na yan.
Well, you know that exciting feeling of going back to school and getting
You
your
get the
haircut. Oy, Reg, ikaw yun.
Magdadrop ako ng konting teaser.
O, sige.
May nakita ko nagbo-blocking sa labas. Yung TV5.
You can explain to the viewers what blocking means.
Explain what blocking.
Blocking, mga para mag-getting ready for their positions.
On the set. Okay, with the camera
Yun lang
positions.
sabihin.
Okay. So, abangan na lang, no? July 1, ilang tulog na lang. Konti na lang. July 1 na. Pero ito, before we go, oras na para sa ating big picture of the day. Senator Robin Padilla's guns, this time, literally. And, wow, I hope he does not go back to jail for that. But Padilla went on Facebook Live from a high-end gun store in Taguig City. One of the high-powered guns that he showed had his name engraved on it. And in his post, Padilla jokingly wrote, "Hindi ako nagtatago ng ginto. Nagtatago ako ng baril." The senator went on saying that all his guns are licensed. Recall that the former actor was convicted back in 1994 for illegal gun possession. He spent 3 years in Bilibid and was released when the law was repealed. He was eventually pardoned by former President Rodrigo Duterte. Nagulat nga ako ang lakas ng loob niya kasi nga, he went to Bilibid for the illegal
gun
possession.
Well, the difference is he's a senator now, so I don't know. That's a question for another day. Do you need a license to carry with you in this country, right? I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, he says he has a license, but that's it for the show tonight.
We are One News, all sides, all the time.
Thanks for tuning in and have a good night.